The recurring theme you're going to hear from me is doing life together and doing life with people. You know, I've chosen to do life with Amy and Colton and Asher and Jackson and their respective families. And I've chosen to do life with people like Tim Dreslinski, who's my best friend, who's over here in the audience. That's how you know shit's real, when like your real friends show up. You know, that's how you know you're like doing a good thing, because they're the first ones to go, but I fucking know you, I got shit to do, right? So, but doing life's important, and I've been doing life with our next speaker for the better part of a decade, if not a decade. And I know him very well. Like he's probably the person that traveled the closest to be at this event. But I know him. We hang out at Stars games together. I have let him use my car before, which is saying a lot, right? Not the truck, the McLaren, right? So I've let him use my car before. We go four-wheeling, which he just happened to cause flats on both of my motor vehicles. Still friends, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, we hang out at Stars games. We hang out at events. I've spoke at probably 5 of his events, and so I know Wayne. And the reason why I'm sharing that with you is because he's probably the happiest motherfucker on the planet. Back when I smoked weed 24/7, I'm like, Wayne, I will quit smoking weed if you would just tell me what fucking pills you're on, right? Because he's just always excited about life and always happy, man. He's such a positive, uplifting person. I could be having the worst day that I could imagine, and the person I'm going to call Wayne. Why? Because he's fucking always happy. I'm hoping some of that rubs off on me. You know what I mean? But I've watched him build an empire. He's been a friend way longer than he's been a client. He was one of the first people to really support me and say, hey, man, I can get behind what you're doing. You're doing good shit right here, man. And he's always just been a positive voice in the back of my head. Anytime, he's one of the first people I call when I go to do stuff that's going to be fun, because I want somebody who's happy and exciting. It's not going to bring a bunch of negative drama and shit like that into my life while I'm out there four-wheeling or hunting or whatever it is that we do together. And I've watched him build this hero brand, his Hero Nation brand, over the last 5 years or so, and his accolades are off the chart. He was like top 30 under 30 realtors. He was one of the top realtors in the state of Alaska, which I'm sure he's not there anymore. It's a lot warmer in Texas, this room being a good example of that. Maybe not today, but it's been one of the top realtors in Alaska. He's been one of the top trainers for Keller Williams. This guy traveled all around the country and the world training real estate agents. No telling how many of thousands of real estate agents he's coached and helped, and he's expanded just like the path that I've been on, where it started with loan officers, then real estate agents, and you're like, oh shit, I can do this for fucking everybody. Right? And you have these epiphanies, and I've watched him hit those levels that we talked about in this video in the sales talk yesterday, right? He went from working for somebody else as an agent to being self-employed as a hustler to now having a team and being in the CEO space, and it's amazing to see his journey. I know he's going to bring energy up here. I know he's going to bring a smile to everybody in the room's face, and I'm excited to have my friend, Wane Salmons. Give him a big round of applause, everybody.
Now, all right, here we go. Okay, I love you, but I'm never doing a dance video ever again. Like, I'm still chafed. You need to think a little bit more. Okay, all right. Bye. Oh, that's never gonna work. Okay, so how do I announce the Hero Nation Summit? What can we do? Got it. All right. Oh, this is gonna be good. I know what we're gonna do. Greatest salesperson in the world. I've been in the Marines, the Navy. I was the first one in Space Force. I've been in the pen 8 times because I was so good at selling. They locked me up. I've been kicked out of kindergarten because I was so good, and I made it out alive. Do you like my car? Because I'm the greatest salesperson in the world. You should come to my event today. All right, dude, I have the most incredible idea for this video. So I'm gonna get this really, like, a super expensive car. Gonna pull it up. I'm gonna do a sales video in front of that to expose the event, and it's gonna be incredible. Wait, what? What do you mean it's already been done? What? Okay, send it to me.
Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills.
Son of a biscuit! Woo! All right, we're ready to rock and roll, yes? All right, say yes. All right, I just want to make sure you're with me. Okay, so here's what I love about that video That was Ryan's car. I do not own that car, right? So Ryan, I sent it to Ryan. I'm like, you're going to love this video or think I'm a total loser, so it's going to go one way or the other. Here's why I did it that way. That's who I am. I'm not the fancy dude to get off the Lamborghini, right? Like, I'm just a real dude. Are you cool with that? Yes? Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. You're fucked up. I'm not supposed to use presuppositions. I get it, right? I'm probably going to, I was sitting back there, I'm like, I need to change my speech. Here's the reality. You're fucked up, and that's okay. Welcome to the room. Are you with me? And you can still have the greatest year of your life. Yes? Is that all right? Okay, here's what I mean. We've all got stuff. Agreed? Here's what I know. As entrepreneurs, we are twice as likely to be depressed, to struggle with depression. We are way more likely to have ADHD. Some of us, that's like, I think you had to pass that test to get in this room. Would you agree? Yeah. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about because you're already distracted. It's been a second. All right. We are 4 times more likely to be addicted to stuff that's messing us up. Agreed? Yeah. And look at the bipolar numbers. Here's what I know. What I know is, how many of you in this room, you don't have to raise your hand, how many of you in this room you struggle with contemplating suicide? Or you've attempted suicide at some point? A lot of us have. Some of you attempted it, and I'm glad it didn't work and you're here. A lot of us have friends that aren't here today. Right? Here's what I know. We got some real stuff to work through. Would you agree? 10 years, I know I'm not supposed to talk about suicide either. Like, shit, I don't have a speech left. No. 10 years ago, I was nailing it. 10 years ago, I had the wife, I had the kids, I had the big 6,000 square foot house up on the hill on 5 acres looking at this mountain range. I couldn't see, it was incredible, right? I was involved in my community. I checked all the boxes. Are you with me? And then, as Ryan would say, the force of average got me. I had an affair, I screwed up my business, and I lost everything. And within a matter of weeks, it's amazing how stuff can happen fast, right? Within a matter of weeks, I was sleeping on the floor of this vacant building in Alaska in the winter. By the way, if you're going to do the homeless thing, like, not the right state for that, okay? Just a FYI. I'm laying on the floor, and I've already decided how I'm going to do it. I'm getting ready to take my own life. I've got it all planned out. I'm getting ready to take action. And I have this epiphany. And what hits me at that moment was nobody was coming to save me. And it wasn't that people didn't love me, people didn't care about me, people didn't want to help me. It's just at that moment, there was nobody on this planet that could save me. And I realized I had 2 choices, right? I either be a victim and check out, or I choose to be my own hero and get back up. And I thank God every day that I had that moment. Here's the reality. For a lot of us in this room, you've got to make the decision to be your own hero, right? We talk about it on airplanes, right? How many of you have been on an airplane and you're told how to use this thing? What do they say? What's the one thing they always say when they're telling you about this? Put it on yourself first, right? You've got to take care of yourself. The whole premise of my coaching and training is you've got to become the leader of your own life before you want to lead somebody else. Would you agree? Right? If you want to change the freaking world, it starts right here. Would you agree? Say yes. All right, and here's what I know. There are some things that I had in my life that weren't working out. The first one was I kind of thought somebody was going to come to save me, right? How many people do you know they kind of have Prince Charming syndrome, right? Somebody's going to notice I'm awesome, right? Somebody's going to know I'm really good at this. Somebody's going to show. Nobody's coming. They're not coming. Are you with me? Right? It doesn't mean people don't care about you and people don't love you. Right? I love this community. But at the end of the day, you've got to make the decision. Agreed? You got to ask yourself, is there any area in my life that I'm waiting for Prince Charming and it's not going to work out? Here's the second aha that I had. The second aha that I had, the day's getting back up. And I wish I could say, like, the next day after I made that decision, it was awesome, right? Like, it wasn't awesome, okay? It took me a long time to get back up, right? One of my epiphanies as I kept going through this was, I viewed failure totally wrong. I believed that failure was as Eric Thomas would say, I believed that it was a tattoo when it really is just a bruise. Are you with me? So many of us, I love when he's talking about all the failures he had, right, a little earlier. What I love is realizing, let me say it this way. Isn't it funny, like my kid just learned to ride his bike, right? And then he ran into his sister who's 2 and broke her leg. Like, that's not the cool part. But the cool part is he just learned to ride his bike. And when we see a kid learning to ride their bike, when they fall off, what do we say? We just say, he fell off. Get back up. Let's do this. We don't run over to that kid and go, faller! You're a faller. You will always be a faller. Welcome to the school of fallers. We say he fell. Get back up. You're not, right? But when we become adults, we get real mature. How many in this room are way too freaking mature? Like you're not even laughing right now, even though it's a little weird and the short guy on stage is yelling. That's a little odd, okay? Right? So here's what we do. As an adult, we have a failure, and what do? We don't go ahead, we go, I'm a failure! Right? It turns from verbs and adjectives, and I don't know what the hell all those things are. I didn't even graduate high school. But we turn it from this active kind of thing to this who we are. Are you with me? We go, I didn't have a failure, I am a failure. You're not a failure. You had some. Welcome to the club. Are you with me? If you haven't had some failure in your life, get out of this room and go mess something up. Right? Welcome to the journey. Here's the third thing I got. The third thing I got was I didn't think I needed a plan to get back up. Would you agree some stuff's going to happen this year? Who would say 2019 is going to be the easiest year you've ever experienced? You're probably not going to struggle with anything. It's going to be amazing, right? You're going to have some stuff. What I realized was, isn't it interesting that in our physical world, we plan for tough days? How many of you have a spare tire in the back of your car? You have a first aid kit somewhere in your house. You've got this stuff, right? Imagine, some of you have had this experience. You get home and you realize you've locked yourself out of the house. Has anyone ever had this experience? Right, 2 of you will admit it. The rest of you are like, maybe, I don't know. Does that mean I'm dumb? No, welcome to the journey. Right, you get home, you locked yourself out of the house. You got 3 kids waiting to get in. Right, it's pouring rain, whatever it is. You got to call the locksmith, and because it's like 5:06, he charges you 4 times as much, right? Shows up an hour later. You go through all this drama, correct? What do you do that night or the very next day? You go get a spare key. Thank you, one person that's listening. All right, you're good. You go and you get a hide key, correct? You go to Walmart or wherever it is, and you get one of these little hide keys. You make a fake key, you make an extra key. You put it in there. You lay the rock. You say, "I'm never going to let that happen to me again. I got a spare key. I have a plan." What I realized in my life was, I'm a high achiever. I've always struggled with my emotions. Right? How many of you, and maybe this is just me and I'm just preaching to myself, you have like best day ever and then like 3 seconds later it's like it's all going down. Right? You're like, I don't even know what I'm doing, right? Like, shit. Do you have these moments? Say yes. Awesome. Welcome to the club. We don't have a freaking plan. All right, right? We go, I'm just going to be, right? They're all high achievers in this room. We just go, I'm just going to be tougher next time. Next time I'm just not going to get sad. I just killed my mic. There we go. Right, it happens. So here's what I want you to do. The third thing I realized was I needed to prepare for the tough days. I need to have a plan for some of the tough days. And I began to document, write down, do research on what I can do on those tough days. For me, it's several different things. One of it's, sometimes I just kind of call somebody like Ryan and say, I'm going down, help me. Right? Sometimes it's go for a walk. What I did was I wrote down some questions that I ask myself when I'm going through a tough day, and I'm super weird, right? Like, if that's not okay with you, you're in the wrong room. I literally wrote down 8 questions, I printed them off, and I put them inside a hide key in my office, right? And it literally sits in my office, and I know that I'm having one of those, holy shit, we're going down moments. I literally grab this is weird, okay? Like, welcome to the journey. I grab my hide key, I read those questions. Some of those questions are, what's really going on? Are you making this the end of the world? Maybe it's not. What'd you do wrong? What'd you do good? What are you going to do different next time? What's the next right decision? And I read through some of those questions and it gets me back up. I have a plan. You got to have a plan in your life to get back up. Would you agree? Here's the other thing I realized. The other thing I realized was that this could be the best year of my life. How many of you would agree that this next year could be the best year of your life. Okay, some of you are just super in the depressed moment. I'll give you the rock in a second. Like, just stay up for lunch, stay here. Okay, do you really believe that this could be the best year of your life? Yes or no? Yes. How many people won't have that experience? I was watching this commercial the other day, and it was advertising this college, and it said, you should come to this college, it's amazing, because people that come to this college, right, they love it, and everybody says that college was the best 4 years of their life. That's pretty freaking concerning. They were advertising this thing in a national commercial. College is the best 4 years of your life. Holy crap, that should freak us out. Are you with me? I want your college experience to be awesome, don't get me wrong. Chuck had a lot of fun in college, right? He's still living it, right? But for the rest of us, right, those 4 years make them awesome. But if you go the next 50, 60 years and those 4 years were the best 4 years of your life, like, that's a sucky journey, would you agree? So here's my question for you. What would it take for this year to be the best year of your life? What would it take? And I don't mean all hairy-fairy and rainbows and butterflies and everything. What would it really take for this to be the best year of your life? When I usually ask that people that question, they oftentimes don't say it, but what they're thinking is, man, if it was a year where I didn't have any financial issues, if it was a year where I didn't have any health issues, if it was a year where I got along and I didn't have any relationship issues, good luck. Right? Like, would you agree some stuff's going to happen this year? What? What if you began to reframe your mind, and instead of spending an entire year trying to resist pain, resist problems, resist discomfort, you actually turn it around and you begin to think, hey, you know what? A life without problems would actually suck. I know I'm a little weird. Would you agree? Think about this thing. Would you agree that a life without problems would actually be a life without living? People go, I hate problems. I just want to get rid of all the problems in your life. Once you get rid of all the problems in your life, you are dead. Just so you know. That's what happens, right? Here's what I know. How many of you are in this room and you get paid a ton of money to what? Solve problems. Yes? Right? If there weren't big, awesome problems, you wouldn't be making great money. I coach a lot of real estate agents, and it's amazing when somebody will call me when they don't know me very well, and they'll go, man, I got this seller and blah, 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 blah. What do you do again? I'm in real estate. Well, hell, yes! Welcome. This is part of the journey. You're complaining about problems you signed up for. If you're in real estate, you work with humans, and what I know is humans are a little crazy sometimes. Would you agree? We all are a little crazy when we're buying or selling a house, yes? Okay? So here's what I want you to imagine. What if you began to think about this? You began to go, problems are actually awesome. The opportunity here is to choose the problems that I want. I believe most of you in this room don't have big enough problems. I don't think you have big enough problems. I think that if you struggle getting out of the bed in the morning, it's because you're getting up to pay the rent, and that's not very inspiring. Would you agree? I think you got to get some bigger problems. We got some rich, first-class, spoiled people problems. Are you with me? You got to get some bigger problems. I would propose to you that if you had a big problem, that might light you up. Imagine this. Imagine that I brought a family in here today. I used to work with a lot of homeless families. It's amazing how a family can go homeless overnight. Right? Are you clapping for the homeless or that I worked with? Okay, I just want to say, okay, no, I love you, dude. Thank you for the way. Everybody be him. Okay, good. Right? So when I was working, imagine this happened. Imagine that I brought in here right now 3 families, right? Mom, dad, 2 kids. And they're going to be living on the streets. And I looked at you and I said, if you nail it for the next 90 days, if you crush it for the next 90 days, you could give them $10,000 and it would change the trajectory of their family forever. But it's only up to you. Nobody else can help them. That's the one rule. Nobody else can help them. You nail it for the next 90 days, it's going to change their life. Right? New Year's Eve, we're going to do dinner with that family. And you get to show up and say, I crushed it. Here you go. It's going to change your life. Or you're going to show up and go, man, I was tired. there were some bad days. I believe that if you took that on at the end of those 90 days, you would feel proud. You'd feel inspired. You'd feel lit up. Would you agree? I think your opportunity here is to find, here's what I want you to do. And somebody's talking about, right, purpose over profits. Find a problem that you give a shit about, that you want to change, and go after it. What's the big, if your only problem is to pay your bills, my guess is you struggle with your energy on all the time. My guess is you have issues here and there, right? But when you find a problem that's bigger than you can do something about, it lights you up. Would you agree? I want you to think about it. What would be let's make this interactive. What would be your problem? What could be a problem that you could do something about that would light you up? Homeless families, it's happening all the time. What else? What could be your problem? What's hunger? Yeah. One of my big problems that I love to work on is people that don't see their greatness. It pisses me off when I look at someone, they don't see their potential and how great they can be. It pisses me off, so I decided to do something about it. I want you to find a big problem that pisses you off and do something about it. Here's the one thing that might be going through your head. And I see this happen so often. People go, when I'm blank, then I'll give back. Right? When I can feed 100,000 people, then I'll give back. When I can do something big and epic, whatever it is, then I'll give back. One of my favorite stories is the story of Tony Robbins, who I get hot, so just welcome to the journey here. One of my favorite stories is Tony Robbins, right? And if you know Tony Robbins' story, early on in his life, his family struggled to eat, right? And one year, somebody brought Thanksgiving meal to their house, and he made a decision at 15, 16, whatever it was, that he was going to be able to feed other families. He was like, I'm going to feed other families as I grow up, right? My favorite part of the story, if you keep reading, is he made the decision, the very first year he fed families, he fed how many? Does anybody know? It was like two. He fed 2. The next year was like 4, then it was like 8, 16, whatever, and now he's feeding millions, right? But he freaking started. I think too often as high achievers, right, we go, all right, I'm going to do this when I can do it the best in the world and feed 1 million. My challenge to you is just start. Start by feeding 1, 2. Are you with me? So I think that for this to be the best year of your life, you've got to get clear on what your problems are going to be. Here, let me show you this really quick. Here's what I believe. I believe that if you get clear on your purpose, your priorities will show up, and that automatically leads to productivity. Does this make sense? What doesn't work is when I have results and I try to find my priorities and I try to find my purpose. It's got to start from the bottom and go up. Yes or no? Yes or yes? All right, somebody turn to your neighbor and say, I know you're hungry, wake on up. Oh, wow, that was sad. All right, okay, I still love you. Okay, turn to your neighbor and say, you got this. All right, that was way better. Okay, so it starts with your purpose. It leads to what? Your priorities, and then it leads to your productivity. Where is happiness on that chart? It's off of it. Right? Here's what I know. How many people do you talk to that go, I'm after happiness, I want contentment, I want happiness, I want joy, whatever it is. You don't find happiness. Happiness is the what? It's the byproduct. Agreed? When I get clear on my purpose is to empower people to see their own greatness, to be all they can be, right? To have results fast, right? Get where they want to go with less bruises. When I get clear on my purpose, my priorities automatically show up. I get incredibly productive. And what's the byproduct of all this? Ryan said it, happy. I'm thrilled, right? And the problems are cool with me because I know the journey I'm on. Does this make sense? Yes or yes? All right, thank you. All right, here we go. So let me ask you a couple questions. I think you've got to make 5 big decisions. So get ready to write these down. Are you ready? You got to make 5 decisions for next year to be the greatest year of your life. Are you okay if next year is the greatest year of your life? Say yes. Okay, if you're not, say no. So make sure you're with me. Okay, here you go. You got to make 5 decisions. First off, life is tough. Yes or no? All right, life is tough. You got to be what? Tougher. All the dudes that are going to get up here and the gals the next couple of days are tough people. Would you agree? Some of them are like Satuma, or whatever, I don't even know, Sadima, whatever to say his name, right? He's back there, he walks like this. Tough dude. But they're mentally tough, would you agree? So here's the first decision. You've got to decide what problems are you going to go after this year. Don't leave this space without getting clear on what are some of the problems you're going to go after. Here's the second decision. The second decision you got to make is, are you going to be limited by your resources, or are you going to be incredibly resourceful? Would you agree? Here's what I know. One of my favorite stories, Richard Branson. And Richard Branson tells a story years ago about how he flew into this airport. He was young. He flew into this airport, and he was on his way to go on a date. Right? So he was flying to this airport. He had a layover, then he was going to fly somewhere else. Who knows, going on a date can be like a great motivator, by the way. Okay? So he lands. This big storm comes in. Right? All the flights are grounded. Everybody's booking hotels, right? Sleeping on the floor. Sir Richard Branson does this. He goes over to the non-commercial, the private part of the airport, walks in, and he goes, "Can you guys still fly planes tonight?" And they go, "Yeah." Right? Like, we have different rules and regulations. We can still get out of here. He goes, "Awesome. How much is the plane?" Right? They said, "A lot." Right? Whatever it was, he goes, "Awesome, we'll be back." Walks back into the terminal, gets a sign, starts carrying it around that says, "Hey, flights to Charlotte," or whatever it was. "Flights to Charlotte tonight, $500 a person. Who wants in?" He gets 19 other people to pay for this private plane to get him out and get him to the date. Kind of cool. Here's what strikes me about that story, though. My guess is there were some people in that airport that needed to get to Charlotte for a much more important reason than a date. Right? Everybody gave up, except for him. What I've realized is the biggest question you got to ask yourself this next year is, am I going to be limited by my resources, or am I going to be wildly resourceful? I've never met a single successful person that said, "Man, I just had all the money I needed. I had all the support. Everybody believed in me. We had no issues. I had all the resources I ever needed. It was awesome. It was just so smooth," right? No, what do they talk about? They say, "I didn't have enough money, and I figured it out. I didn't have enough time, and I figured it out. I didn't know the right people, so I figured it out." They got resourceful. Would you agree? My guess is for you to have the best 2019 of your entire life, you're going to have to get wildly resourceful. When someone on your team is not being resourceful, you need to look at them and go, "You better find your plane." Who said you were going to have all the resources? Nobody. You got to get wildly resourceful. Are you with me? Here's the third thing. The third thing for this to be an incredible year. Third thing is this. You got to choose your response. Now, you all know this, so can I just remind you for 1 second? You all know this. But you get how important your response is this next year, yes? There are going to be some events that happen out of your control that will try to mess you up. The force of average, especially as you are growing, is going to get you. Agreed? Your response is going to make all the difference. In the moment, we forget this sometimes, yes? I want you to ask yourself, what's your response going to be this next year? There was one story that I heard, and this goes back to reframing your experience. I was teaching a class one time, and there was about 100 people in the room, and I said, if you're driving, we're talking about something totally off subject, and I said, if you're driving down the road and you see somebody swerving in front of you, right, what do you automatically think they're doing? Right? Texting, talking, drinking, whatever it is, right? And so we're having this discussion, we're getting all riled up, and this one lady in the back of the room kind of timidly raises her hand. And I said, she said, your husband could be driving to the hospital, and you could be sitting in the back seat giving your 8-year-old daughter CPR, and it's not working. Do you think that changed how I view somebody swerving down the road nowadays? Changes my whole energy. I remember one night I'd been on the road traveling. I'd spoken in all these different cities all throughout the week, and I got home, and it was late, and I was only going to have a couple hours to sleep, and I finally get into bed, right, which just feels gorgeous to get in your own bed. And I'm laying there about to fall asleep, and I hear my 2-year-old daughter start crying. My first thought is, are you kidding me? Right, like I got 8.5 minutes to sleep here. What are you doing? I caught myself, and I go, man, I better reframe this. And I'm laying in bed, and I go, okay, how can I reframe this? And what hits me is I had a friend of mine years ago, and he had his 7-month-old daughter die of SIDS. In the middle of the night, she just passed away. And I'm laying in my bed, and I'm going, he would give anything right now to be woken up by his 2-year-old daughter. From that moment on, when I hear my daughter crying in the middle of the night, I go, hell yeah. Can't wait to run up and hold her. Because she's still here. Are you with me? I get to reframe my entire experience. your response and the way you reframe things is going to change everything. How many of you remember there was a Shark Tank episode a couple of years ago, and this couple came in, and I think it was Lace and Grace is the name of their company, and they're making these stockings and stuff, and the sharks go, "Why did you start this company?" And they said, "Well, actually, a couple of years ago, our young daughter passed away." And first off, if that's happened to you, I can't imagine anything. It hasn't happened to me. I can't imagine anything more painful than losing a child. Right? He said our daughter passed away, and we decided that we would do something in her honor. We decided that we would start this company and that all the profits from this company would go to build orphanages in South Africa. Right? And then it showed a picture of all these hundreds of young girls that had a place to live because of what they decided. I'm not saying this is the right decision for everybody. We all got to grieve in different ways, right? And yet, here's what I love about that story. They chose their response, and do you think it massively changed the outcome? This year, right, this and the end of the year, next year, you're going to have some events. You're going to have some shit that happens, and your job isn't to take responsibility for every event. Your job is to take responsibility for your response. Would you agree? Right? Now, if it's my case, like I create some of my own shit, so like I do need to take responsibility for that. But there's going to be stuff that happens that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is figuring out how you respond. Agreed? Here's the last decision that you got to make. The last decision you got to make for this next year, and I want to read this to you. What I've discovered is most of us don't need to be taught something new. A lot of times we need to be reminded of stuff we already know. Would you agree? Right? Here's what this is. You've got to, now where did my page go that I was going to read? Oh, there it is, okay. Welcome. You got to take full responsibility. Here's the quote. Make no mistake that in the end, the price of happiness is responsibility. Most people they don't really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. Don't let this be you. When we blame others for what we're going through, right, we deny responsibility, and you literally surrender power in that part of your life over to them. Have you heard people say, "I'm having a bad day"? What? "Oh, my clients." You just gave all your power to your clients. "Oh, my spouse." You just gave all that power away. Are you with me? He goes on to say this. Make no mistake, in the end, the true price of happiness is responsibility. As soon as you stop making everyone and everything else responsible for your happiness, the happier you'll be. If you're unhappy right now, it's nobody else's fault. Agree or agree? So here's the decisions you got to make. You got to make the decision of what problems are you going to choose to take on this year. Choose some big-ass awesome problems. Look around this room. Imagine what problems we couldn't solve by the people that are in this room. Are you with me? Huge. What problems are you going to go after? Decide to love the problems that you choose. Decide to take 100% responsibility for your life. And here's the last thing that I want to share with you. I want you to embrace the fact that you're kind of messed up. This is a room you're probably in this room because you've had some awesome failures. Would you agree? You're probably in this room because you're a badass, and what that means to me is that you realize you're not perfect, and you have highs, you have lows, we all have stuff we struggle with. What I've known is I've coached over 5,000 agents. What I know is almost every single person I meet is fighting a battle that nobody else knows about. Right? Some of you in this room are probably fighting some battles that nobody else knows about, and you're pretending. We pretend all the time. We pretend that we're okay. I pretend that I don't need to lose another 8 pounds. I do. I won't strip for you. Right? We pretend that stuff's working that isn't. We pretend that we're okay, and sometimes we're just not. Agreed? That's cool. Welcome to the journey. Here's my challenge for the next 2 days. There's going to be some incredible people that get up here on stage, right? I'm thrilled to go sit down and start taking massive notes. The challenge is going to be the most important conversation you're going to have, which is the one you have with you. Well, the conversation you're going to have with you over the next 2 days is the most important one you're going to have. Would you agree? Here's what I realized. For some of us, the default conversation that's going to be easy to have, maybe this is just me, is, shit, why am I not further ahead? Why am I not doing it? It's going to be very easy for me to compare myself to them and beat the crap out of myself. Would you agree? My challenge for you for the next 2 days is realize that it's so easy for us to compare ourselves against somebody else. When I'm comparing myself against somebody else, it's I either got to put them down and I'm better, I'm cool, I'm better than them, or I got to say they're better than me and put myself down. Yet there's a third option. The third option is we're not even running the same race. We didn't start at the same place. We probably don't want to go to the same place. It's like I'm comparing my Monopoly game to their checkers game. For the next 2 days, what I'm going to ask you to do is don't compare yourselves to them. Be inspired by them, right? If a dyslexic kid that didn't finish high school can do this, you can do anything. Are you with me? I don't compare yourself to them. I want you to be inspired by them. And here's who I want to be your hero to be, right? My hero is who I can become 5 years from now. That's what I'm looking up to. I'm looking up to who I can be a year from now, 5 years from now. And we go, man, that guy's freaking awesome. I can do that. That's what I'm looking up. Who I'm comparing myself to is who I used to be. Some of you can test I'm a hell of a lot better than I used to be, but I'm on my own journey. Yes? For the next 2 days, I'm going to ask you to allow these guys to inspire the hell out of you, but don't compare yourself to them. You're on different races. Does that make any sense? Pretty cool opportunity we have here. Yes? Here's what I want to leave you with. I love this quote. One day in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful years. I love that Gary Vee quote he talked about the other day. He said, how many people are asking themselves this question? They go, how much shit do I have to eat so then I can have caviar? Right? How many years do I have to work? How many hours do I have to work? How much money do I have to make so then I can have an epic experience, right? Ryan talks about, right, the happy ever after. How many people do you know that are doing that, right? Man, if I just work all these days, then I can have a day off. If I just work hard, then I can retire. They're saying, how much shit do I have to eat so then I can have caviar? The reality is, the shit is the caviar. This is the awesome stuff. Because when Ryan and I, we were talking the other day, what do you think we're talking about? Dude, do you remember 5 years ago when blah, blah, blah? And it wasn't the good stuff. It was like, do you remember when you got locked out of Facebook? I mean, it's like 18 times Ryan's got locked out of Facebook, right? But do you remember one of those many, many times you got locked out of Facebook? One of my favorite experiences was Ryan and I were sitting at the Stars game one night, and I look over at him, and he's like white. I'm like, dude, what's going on? He goes, YouTube just deleted all of my stuff. It's all gone. We're talking like gazillion, I don't even know how many gazillion videos. He's white, right? He got it figured out. But that's the stuff we talk about. We talk about the night he had the heart attack at the Stars game, right? It wasn't a real heart attack, but we were pretty close there for a second. I was like trying to make it funny, and it wasn't working. Just so you know, don't try to make a joke when Ryan's freaking out. Anyway. Well, side note, if you want to live, okay? When you look back, these hard years will be the most beautiful years you have. And I don't want to pretend it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But if I can embrace problems and realize that I actually get paid a ton of money to take care of problems. I actually love the problems that I got coming my way. And I'll look back and this will be the best stuff that happens to me. Yes? I write it on my hand all the time, put this little dash on my hand. And what I remind myself is there's going to be my birthday, and there's going to be the day I die. And I'm better to live it up, right? We only got one shot. What are you going to do with your dash? Choose epic problems. Have fun. Lean in. And realize you're fucked up. Welcome. Welcome to the crew of awesome, amazing, fucked up, epic people who are probably going to go change the world. All right. I love you, my friends. Thank you for being here.